Hi everybody, I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Welcome back to my channel. Really excited. We've got 10 Dollar Tree DIY Christmas ornaments today. So let's get right into the crafting.
DIY number 1. So this is my inspiration picture from Kirkland's. You can see it's $11.99 for 2 of them. I'm going to be using a Dollar Tree styrofoam ball. Now, this little faux snow, I've been warned by other crafters not to use it because it apparently gets everywhere, but I'm going to try it anyway. And I'm also using some of my jute twine. So going to go ahead and take off a little length of this to make a loop for my ornament, and taking a skewer from the Dollar Tree to punch a hole in that, and then also using the skewer to tuck this down inside. And I wasn't sure how well it would work, but it actually worked out great, and I got it down in there really good. But then I just used a little bit of hot glue for some extra security, just to make sure it wasn't going to pull out again. Now I'm using a relatively deep glass vase for this, and I'm squirting it down with some rubbing alcohol because I figured that the reason that this stuff gets everywhere is static electricity. So I figure, well, if I could moisten it a little bit, maybe I'll have a little bit more luck than other people have had. And you can see it's kind of sticking inside of my vase a little bit there. This worked out really well. I'm guessing water would work equally as well, but I don't know. I used rubbing alcohol because that's what I had in my little spray bottle there. So now I am going to take some Mod Podge. I'm using gloss because I just have a lot of it. It doesn't really matter what kind of Mod Podge you use because you're not going to see it. But giving it a really good coat, and now I'm going to dunk it and roll it around in my faux snow. And my faux snow, for the most part, is not wet because I just had squirted a little bit inside. And I don't know if that does something with the rubbing alcohol to static electricity, but it worked like a charm, you guys. So if you do want to use this stuff, this is one way that you can avoid having it get everywhere. DIY number 2. So this is another Kirkland's inspired black buffalo check ornament. It was $10.49 for 2 of them. I'm using another Dollar Tree styrofoam ball, and I'm using some buffalo check ribbon that I had gotten at Hobby Lobby when it was on sale. So I'm going to be cutting lengths of this that will wrap just enough to get myself around the ball, and using hot glue to secure it up at the top. Now I'm also going to be pulling in the sides. This is a wired ribbon, so you don't need a wired ribbon for this. You could use just a plain ribbon. All I had was wired, so that's what I'm using. But tucking in the edges on either side to try to help pull it taut, because obviously the ball is curved, the ribbon is not, so I'm helping it to become curved as I'm working with it here. So that's what I'm doing there at the top. And I'm going to do that a couple more times to work my way around the entire ball. I believe, I want to say I used another, maybe, I think just one more. I think it was just 3 total strips on this, you guys. But I worked my way around the ball. Yep, it was just 3 total strips, now that I'm looking at it again. And just tucking in those ends and making sure that they're secure. And I'm going to do that all the way around until my ball is completely covered. So now I'm coming in with my jute cord, and I am going to line each of my seams with my jute. So I am starting at the top again. And that's because I'm going to be doing something on the top later on, and I know I'll be able to hide all of this. So I want the rest of it to look seamless. So securing it along the edges of the ribbon seams, and I'm going to do that everywhere I have a seam. So it's going to be, I'm not even sure how many times, because some of the ribbon covered up the others. I think it's maybe 6. Anyway, I went ahead and created a little loop here. This is going to serve as our hanger. So I wanted to make sure that I had that created within what I was doing so that it would be nice and secure. And then I continued to go and complete the seams. So now, once I had all of that done, I am wrapping some of this jute twine or jute cord around my little loop that's serving as our hanger, and just getting it all nice and finished the way that I want it. And then I had cut off the end, and I'm tucking that down inside. I almost created like a little beehive, and so I'm tucking it down inside the top of the beehive, if that makes sense. So there you go. Now you could leave it like that and it's already really cute, but I decided I wanted to fancy it up a little bit more. So I'm making a finger bow with my white string or twine. It's kind of heavy for a string, so I'm going to call it white cotton twine. And so doing my finger bow, getting that all secured, fluffing it up, and then I will secure that onto the top with some hot glue. And then just to fancy it up a little bit more, I'm using one of these cute little jingle bells from the Dollar Tree in green. And there you have it. Isn't she cute? So if you're new to my channel, this is Crafted by Corie, and I am Corie, and I'm really happy that you're here. Thank you so much for visiting with me. I hope you'll check out some of my other videos on my channel and let me know what you think. I love hearing all of your feedback and suggestions, so thank you for being here. DIY number 3. I have another inspiration picture. This one again is from Kirkland's. You can see these were a little bit less expensive, but they were out of stock. So I'm using some of these little wooden ornaments that my sister grabbed me from Michael's. I think there were like 5 in there, and I think they were 99 cents. And then I was showing you the different colors of chalk paint that I'm going to be using. So this is just a ripped up little piece of hand towel, you guys. And I dabbed it all with the white chalk paint, and now I'm coming in with various tones of like gray. So I had a light gray, which I believe is called Silver Lining, and then I'm using Elephant, and I'm just trying to get that galvanized look. I didn't actually use a silver, which I probably would recommend if you want to really have it look galvanized, but I liked the effect I came up with. So this is just actually a glass paint marker that I had, but I liked the fine point on it, so I just wrote in Noel, and now I am widening my downstrokes, as you've heard me talk about in other videos, to create that faux calligraphy kind of look. So anywhere you would be drawing down on your letter, that's where you're going to widen it. So now this did not have a hole already punched. I'm just using my Phillips head screwdriver to put a hole in the top of it. These are relatively thin, so I felt like a drill would be overkill. So the screwdriver worked quite nicely. And now I'm coming in with some more of my jute twine and creating the top part of the ornament. So I have a bunch of beads that I got from Amazon. There should be a link in my description box for you if you're interested in that. And I'm kind of trying to figure out how I want to do the top of this ornament. So at first I was like, okay, well, I'll tie off the top and then I'll put the beads through. But you're gonna see I kind of mess with this a couple different ways, because once I started doing that, I'm like, well, I don't know how I want to have the beads now showing. So I was like, well, maybe do I try and get both through at the same time? That wasn't really working well for me. So I untied it, and then I decided I was going to make the ends 2 different lengths here. So just wanted to try and find a way to get my beads on here that was going to make sense, but I knew I was going to want to have that tail end hidden. So here I am again. I went ahead and put all 3 beads on here, and I'm playing with it, and I did find that I was able to tuck one at a time, but then also have both of the pieces of the jute twine going through there. So I went ahead and rethreaded it through my ornament, and now I'm just going to work it up through 1 bead at a time. be patient with yourself for this. It does take a little bit of time and effort. If you have a needle with a large eye that will work for this, go for it. I just didn't have one close at hand, so this is the way I did it the hard way. So then I tied that off at the top of my beads and wrapped it around a few times just to make it a little cuter, and went ahead and secured that at the top, and then I trimmed it off. And that's it, you guys. Isn't it cute? I love this piece. DIY number 4. So here is my inspiration piece. This is the Mackenzie Childs piece. I'm using a do-it-yourself little ornament from the Hobby Lobby that I've had in my stash for a while, as well as some of my ARTEZA acrylic paint markers. Now, I thought I was going to make the top of this gold at first, and I went ahead and painted it and set it aside to dry, but then after a while I was working on the project, I decided I really didn't want it gold, and I ended up painting it black in the end, so you'll see that later. But in the meantime, I am sectioning off our ornament, and I'm kind of trying to think through what I'm doing here, because I know I need to have an even number of spaces for my checkers to work out properly. So I'm sectioning it off. I'm just cutting it in half every single time here, but now trying to figure out where I want my other marks to go in order to get the size checks that I want. So I went ahead and I sectioned it off another 2 times, and again, just think about cutting this ornament in half right down the middle each time. And I would start at the top and find my way down to the bottom so that I just had a little bit more control over where my lines were going. Hopefully that makes sense. I was afraid that if I just kept going around the circle, I was going to end up not making a straight line and end up who knew where. So this was my way of trying to maintain a little bit more control over what I was doing. So once I had that part done, I went ahead and I came in and I cut it in half the other way. So I'm cutting it right down the middle, and then I'll come in and cut each of those 2 large sections in half as well. So the top section and then also the bottom section. So it's almost looking a little bit like a globe to me now. But once I had that all set, I went ahead and started filling it in. I'm sorry, I'm a little off camera here. But I went ahead and started filling in. Of course, I got to do the little top because we can't be leaving anything undone, right? So filling it in now with my paint marker. So I filled in all of the black squares. They're not really square, but all of the black sections first, and then I came back in and I did all of the white. Now, I did this first run with my paint markers. Obviously, you see me using my paint markers, because I thought I was going to have a little bit more control over what I was doing. I was a little weary to try to use a paintbrush on this, but I did decide after I had this all done that it needed a little bit more coverage than what the paint markers were affording me. I mean, the markers, don't get me wrong, they have good coverage, but I felt like I could see all of the pen strokes, the marker strokes. So I just wanted it to be a little bit more solid. So I ended up coming back in with my ARTEZA acrylic outdoor paint and just used a brush and was very, very careful with how I did that. So you can see me coming back in here just because I wanted it to just, I don't know, I didn't want it to look like I had drawn everything on. So hopefully that makes sense. And I would say as long as you are patient and take your time, you can absolutely do this. Obviously, I did this all freehand. I did not tape it off. If you're a little concerned about a steady hand, you certainly could tape it off. It would just take a little bit more time. So if you've got the time to spend on it and you're more concerned about your lines being super straight, then you certainly could tape it off. As you see, I'm coming back in with the black paint as well. So once that was all done and completely dry, I'm coming in with some red ribbon, and I'm just going to make a couple of very simple bows, just like you're tying your shoes. And then I'm sticking my thumbs in the loops and holding that taut and then pulling the tails with the rest of my hands, because I'm trying to get it nice and tight without getting the bow too large. And then once I had that the way I wanted it, I went ahead and created a second one the same exact size, or as close as I could get it, and then I dovetailed my ends so that I would have two bows. So there are our two bows. Now I'm going to attach those with some hot glue to the top of the ornament. You can see I had painted that little cap, for lack of a better term. What is the top name of that thing that sticks on top of the ornament? I don't even know what it's called, but I'm going to call it a cap. But I painted that black, attached the bows, and now I'm coming in with some of my Dollar Tree little tinsel ribbon. It's super pretty. So I tied that off, cut it down, and now I'm tucking that knot down inside so that it's hidden. So it's wedged in between my little bows, and then I'm going to come back in with some more hot glue just to make sure everything is nice and secure and that knot isn't going to end up sliding out and showing. I love this. Tell me what you think. DIY number 5. So here is my inspiration piece for this DIY. This one is also from Kirkland's. I am using a bunch of tongue depressor sticks that I had left over, and then also I had a little piece of paint stick that I had as a scrap that I was showing you there as well. I am trying to use my tongue depressor stick as a straight edge here. I'm not sure why I thought that was it was just easy, I guess. So I'm using my craft knife to score it, and then I'll bend it a little bit, and then eventually I will come in with my scissors. The reason that I like to score it first, I find that sometimes these will split up the length of the tongue depressor stick if I just try to use the scissors. So I'm just looking to keep it nice and neat and clean. So as you can see, I cut those all down. I believe they were 1.5 inches, 2 2.25, 3 inches and 4 inches long. So those were the lengths of my sticks, but you can make them whatever lengths you want. And then I came in with the elephant chalk paint, gave them all a good coating on both sides, and now I'm just dry brushing with my Rust-Oleum white chalk paint. And now coming in with my ARTEZA red acrylic paint marker and creating my designs on these. So doing my little star at the top, and then I will also come in and write in my merry and bright. And you can certainly write whatever you would like on these. It doesn't have to be exact. I did start in the middle on that one because I wasn't thinking properly and realized afterwards that the eye was actually not necessarily the center, but I was doing my best to center that word. Coming in with my STARBOND super glue in thick and just placing one little dot of glue on each of my little sign pieces. And then I went ahead and secured the bottom of this now. I was wishing I had waited until after this next step. So if you are going to make this, I recommend you just wait until the end to secure your little tree bottom. This is Mod Podge that I'm coming in with, and I'm just going over all of my red and then giving it a healthy covering of red glitter. And that glitter is just something that I had picked up from Walmart. So going over each of my letters now, and I'm doing one strip at a time because I don't want my Mod Podge to have the opportunity to dry before I'm able to put the glitter on. And because I've got gaps in each of these, it's fine. And then just toss off the extra glitter. You can see I didn't wait long enough for that to cure, but yeah, try and keep it on the paper, not throwing it all over your mat like I just did. But then you can put it right back into your container to be used for another project at a future date. So got all that cleaned up. I resecured my base. And now I am going to secure a hanger for this. Now this little guy actually was standing up by itself. So if you want it for a tiered tray, it's a cute little mini tree, you know, so you could just have it standing on a countertop, but this is ornaments. So I wanted to make it an ornament and secured my little loop with hot glue, and now just covering it up with some more of the jute cord by wrapping that around a few times until it was nice and secure. And there it is. Isn't it cute? Love ornaments. So now it's time for a shout out time out. So very nice, Valerie. Valerie is one of my sweet subscribers. She sent me a couple of projects to share with you all. This wonderful Dollar Tree pillow and her countdown. If you would like a shout out, please email me at craftedbycorie@gmail.com because I would love to give you one. DIY number 6. So for this one, I am using these Dollar Tree items. I've got little blocks. Oh, and that, I think I might have gotten the faux snow from the Hobby Lobby. But this little DIY ornament, you can open it up and create some sort of like a little snow globe, if you will. So that's what we're doing. I went ahead and glued my blocks in, and then I'm going to check and make sure that I've got it where it can still close properly. And I'm doing a single block, and then I'm doing 2 blocks, and then I'm doing 3 blocks. So each of my little sets of blocks one is taller than the next, kind of like steps. I hope that makes sense. Now, I don't recommend gluing the trees on just yet. I got a little excited. I recommend painting your blocks first. This is at the point where I was like, oh yeah, I wanted to paint that. So I went ahead and painted it now. And fortunately, those little trees are on wire. So I was able to just kind of bend them out of the way to get in where I needed to get the paint job done without actually painting the trees in the process. But this is, I'm kind of thinking of this as my little rock cliff, if you will. So painting all of this in elephant, which is just obviously a nice dark gray. And then I did paint the lid, if you will, as well, just so that it was all uniform. The color was already really very close, so it didn't take but one coat to just get it the way that I wanted it. So now I'm taking some inexpensive hairspray, and it just needs to be a liquid hairspray. It doesn't matter what kind. And I'm pouring some of that inside my little ornament. And then I'm going to pour off the excess. I just kind of swooshed it around on what was going to be the back of the ornament. And now I'm taking some more glitter from Walmart, and I'm just smooshing that around in the same place that I had the hairspray. And you can see it's just sticking to the area where I had the hairspray. So it's glitterized just at the back of our ornament. Now taking some of our faux snow and pouring that in. I think I filled it maybe like a quarter of the way. And now I'm putting our little trees in on the lid and flipping it upside right. And we have our little ornament. It's like a little snow winter wonderland. Isn't that cute? Very pleased with that. DIY number 7. So this is again a Kirkland's inspired project, and I'm using again another Hobby Lobby ornament. This is the same type of ornament that I used for the Mackenzie Childs dupe, if you will, and getting that out and ready. And I am going to be using my copper ARTEZA acrylic paint marker to paint the top of this. And then I set that aside to dry, and now I'm working with my ARTEZA acrylic paints, and I am starting with the marshmallow white to draw my oval on the ornament. This is where our letter is going to be a little bit later. Now, obviously, I am just doing all of this by hand. You certainly could use some sort of a stencil if you want to make sure that your lines are nice and crisp. I just figured I would wing it. So just making sure that it's about the size that I want it and making sure that I'm getting the coverage that I want with the paint. And I think I did end up actually going in and making a second coat for everything. So once the white was dry, I went ahead and I used I think it's called Cardinal Red. I'm not positive, but I think that's what it's called. And just coming in and I'm edging my white with the red, and then I'll fill in the rest of the ornament. Now, I always tend to start with the lightest colors first because I figure it's easier to cover up a light color with a darker color versus the other way around. I think with acrylic paints, you probably would be okay if you wanted to paint it red first and then come back over it with the white. But that was my thought process, so that's why I did it the way that I did. So once that's all done and dry, I'm now coming in with my ARTEZA paint marker in Forest, and I am going to draw my letter C. And I do say draw as opposed to write. Keep in mind this is sped up 3 times. So I am actually drawing. This is not my handwriting, right? So just take your time and you can create it in whatever font type that you like. I'm doing just a little faux calligraphy thing here again. So just making it thicker on my downstroke area. So coming in and just making sure that it's the way that I like it. And then I'm going to come in and do the edging around my oval as well, just like in the inspiration picture. So now I'm coming in with some Dollar Tree stickers. These are almost like, I want to say, I guess they're like a foam sticker, right? But I thought would be super cute for this project, made it really easy. You certainly could paint on your snowflakes or whatever design you want to put on this. You could do stars, you could do whatever you want, right? Be creative. This is your project. But I opted to use these stickers and I thought that they worked out really well, and I'm just placing them randomly. I used some of the larger ones, but I mainly used the smaller ones. And then I attached my little top again, and there you have it. Super cute. DIY number 8. So this is our inspiration picture for the next ornament, also from Kirkland's. I am using one of these little snowflakes from Michael's again. I believe there were 5 in there, and they were, I think, 99 cents or maybe $1.99, but I think they were 99 cents. So I'm coming in with my ARTEZA white paint marker and just giving it a couple of coats. You totally can use regular paint on this. I opted not to use my chalk paint because I am almost out of my Rust-Oleum white chalk paint, and I have not been able to find the Waverly anywhere. I probably should just try and invest in some more of the Rust-Oleum, but I'm running low on chalk paint, so that was why I opted to use my paint marker. And now I'm just stressing it with the elephant chalk paint, and I'm doing this on both sides, as you can see. And now I have one of these little garland ties from the Dollar Tree that I'd already cut down for something else, and I'm cutting a couple of other pieces off of this because I want some greenery for my ornament. And I am just trying to figure out what length I want them and all of that. Now, I wanted them to have a little snow effect. the acrylic paint marker really wasn't working, so I had this snow that I had just picked up from the Home Depot on a whim and decided I was probably gonna make a bigger mess with that, so got a bigger piece of scrap paper. Shake this up really well before you use it, because you can see how it came out just really wet at first. But once I got it going, it was awesome. Look at that flocking. It's fantastic. Love it. So now I am getting out a couple of more little jingle bells. These are in silver. These are from the Dollar Tree. And I have this little package of pine cones, mini pine cones from Dollar Tree as well. And I'm pulling out a little one. And we are going to be adorning our little snowflake with these pieces. So coming in first with my hot glue to secure my greenery that we just flocked. And then I'm going to take a little bit of a length of the jute cord and create just a regular little bow, just like you're tying your shoelaces. And once I had it the size that I wanted it, I went ahead and did a double knot so that if I start pulling on the tails, I won't undo my bow. So I got that all nice and secure and tight in the way that I wanted it, and then trimmed it off so that both of my tails were the same length. And then I did end up messing with this quite a bit. I had put the bells on the ends and I'm like, oh, there's too long. So I went ahead and I undid it. I didn't show you all of that because, you know, why show you tying my stuff twice? So, so I ended up moving the little bells up. I tied them off, as you can see, where I wanted them. Got those nice and knotted, clipped off the ends, and now they're where I want them. So that I'm coming in with the little pine cone. I'm going to secure that down, and I had plenty of glue there for my little bow as well. And put that on top. And so cute. Really, really liking this piece. Give me a big thumbs up if you like the project so far. So taking another piece of the jute twine and tying a little knot at the top so that we have our little hanger. And you could certainly tie that in a bow if you'd like. I just opted to knot it, but how cute. DIY number 9. So this is our inspiration picture for this DIY. I love these. I am using Dollar Tree ribbon, a Dollar Tree little wooden block, and my ARTEZA acrylic paints in red and green. So just prepping my block, pulling off the sticker, and now I am just going to coat the entire thing in my green paint and make sure that I've got nice coverage on that. Once that's completely dry, I'm going to come back in with my red paint and I'm going to draw little random polka dots all over it. You can do this however you'd like. I've got this little polka dot going kind of over around the corner, around the bend. So place your polka dots however you want them, wherever you want them, as many or as few as you'd like, whatever is pleasing to your eye. And you can see I'm also doing them in random sizes as well. So once I had it the way I wanted it, I'm taking my Dollar Tree ribbon and I'm trying to figure out how I want to do my bow. So just going back and forth with looping, and then I decided I was going to start with the base first with my little tails. So I cut off 2 equal lengths that were about the length that I wanted them, and I'm just applying them to the top with some hot glue. I'm just making sure my ends look nice and neat and pretty. And went ahead and did the same with the other. And now I am going to start creating my bow. But I was trying to figure out how I was going to make it the right length. So I actually opted to build it right on the box. So you will see that in just a moment. I'm going to go ahead and put down some hot glue, set down my ribbon and then loop it back and forth over itself. So this actually worked out really well. And as I was doing it, I was a little bit worried that by doing it this way, I was going to build up the middle too much with the hot glue and that it might be a problem, but it actually worked out really well, and it wasn't a problem at all. My concern was completely unfounded. So I went ahead and did it the one way, and now I'm going to come back in and do it the other way. And sorry if you can hear Sammy's collar rattling in the background because he's here and keeping me company as usual. So back and forth, you can see with the ribbon and just using the hot glue as I need it to make sure that everything is secured down. And once I got to the end here, I didn't clip the ribbon just yet because I'm going to do one more little, well, I did clip it, but longer. So flipping that over so that I've got one little fun little bump in the middle of my bow to finish that off. And I will show this to you a little bit more close up right here. So look how cute. I love this. I don't know, this might be one of my favorites, but I'm not sure yet. So I'm using this extra heavy thread from Joann's. You could use fishing line, you could use an extra heavy thread, just something, you know what, if you don't want to make this an ornament, it is super cute, again, for a tiered tray, whatever else. This is an ornament video, so I'm making everything into ornaments, but you definitely want something that is going to be sturdy because the box is relatively heavy when comparing to other ornaments. So I had tied that little loop around my bow loopy, if you will, and now I'm securing it in there with some hot glue. Lots and lots of hot glue so it stays secure. And there you go. DIY number 10. So here is my Kirkland's inspiration yet again. I am going to be using Fern Waverly chalk paint as well as a star that my sister picked up for me for 99 cents from Michael's. And then this is just a piece of scrap wire that I have. It was actually part of the packaging for something. So I had held on to it and was happy to use it for this project. Just prepping my star by sanding down the rough edges, and then I'm going to give it a really good coat of the chalk paint, coating all sides, back and front. Once it's all dry, I'm showing you how I was able to flip out my little tips. So the ARTEZA paint markers, it has a reversible tip on it. One is a fine point. I don't recommend pushing down on the point like I was just there because I noticed it kind of flattened my point a little bit. But it has a chisel point and then it has a fine point, and it was really easy to flip around. I was actually surprised at how easy it was. So now I'm coming in and I am writing my message on my star. Just writing peace on earth. And I wasn't real good about planning this out before I started writing it. You can see, obviously, I am not centered, so I'm thinking about what I'm gonna do. But in the meantime, I did come in with this little stitch detail that we saw on the inspiration piece. And now to fill in some of those gaps, I decided to come in and draw some stars. You could really do whatever you would like here, but my recommendation is to, do as I say and not as I do, and remember to space it out a little bit better than I did. So now I'm measuring off my wire and cutting that down to the size that I need. And then I'm going to come in with my little pliers and I'm going to curve and make little loopies on the end of the wire on each end, because I want the hot glue to have something more than just a straight piece of wire to grab onto. So hopefully you can see how that's like looped, and I'm hoping that it won't pull out from the hot glue this way. So I went ahead and secured that down once it was cool, because I don't want it popping off of there when I'm trying to do the other side. So I waited till it was cool, and then I did the other side and held that until that was cool as well and nice and secured. And here we go for the final reveal.
Okay, everybody, that's it for today. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. I hope that you enjoyed the project. If you did, please give me a big thumbs up. It really does support my channel. And be sure to hit that subscribe button as well as the little bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. Looking forward to seeing you the next time. Until then, be well, be kind, and make it a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Take good care. Bye.